Yes, thank you so much. We are here in Stockholm. My name is Anna. I'm the Director of Business Development for the Estonian Investment Agency in Sweden. And we are super thrilled to be here live on Latitude 59. We just didn't quite make it to the right longitude. But nevertheless, Stockholm and Tallinn are never far apart. We share the same values, the enthusiasm about technology, and of course, our entrepreneurial mindset. So Stockholm has been named the unicorn factory, and Estonia, with a population of only 1.3 million people, have more than thousands startups and also 4 unicorns, out of which one we even share with Sweden. So it's has to be some great magic created when we combine those two startup and VC ecosystems. So I'm very thrilled to be here live from Stockholm with prominent speakers from Ericsson, Telia, who are corporate VCs, who also have a significant footprint in Estonia. We also have Ericsson Ventures here, who are not just looking for startups, but they are also themselves acting as a startup when they are disrupting the way VCs operate. So with that said, on behalf of the Estonian Investment Agency, I would just like to welcome all of you who have the luxury of being in Tallinn right now, and also, of course, all of you who are watching online. And please give it up for our first speaker, Vik Li from Ericsson Ventures.
So, hi, Tallinn. First of all, thanks Latitude59 for this opportunity to speak with you all today. I'm very happy to be invited as a speaker and the first one on the stage. Since Ericsson Ventures is relatively new to the startup and venture community in Europe, I'm going to spend some time today to tell you more about Ericsson Ventures. As we are the venture arm for Ericsson, as some of you may know about Ericsson, we are one of the largest network infrastructure providers in the world. So almost all the telecom operators around the world are our customers. Today, we are very busy delivering 5G networks to over 40 operators globally. Recently, we have achieved a huge milestone in 5G, and we signed our 100th 5G commercial contract, and that is in Slovenia. In terms of Estonia, we have quite a big presence in here. Our history in Estonia dated back to 1920s with a phone factory in Tartu. Today, we have more than 2,000 employees, and we have manufacturing facilities in Tallinn. That is one of the largest manufacturing units in Ericsson. It is not just a factory that have volume production. It has actually incorporated R&D activities, and it is also the first factory in Estonia that has a private cellular network. The network is intended for automated guided vehicles, augmented reality applications, and monetary solutions. It's worth mentioning that our Ericsson actually accounted for about 4% of the export in Estonia. So our business in Estonia actually goes beyond the telecom operators. For example, we have been delivering a smart metering solution to Electrolavit for almost a decade, and we are also part of the consortium to deliver the government cloud, the Rigivil. So, and recently, we have started a EU project called 5G Routes. The objective of the project is to test connected and automated mobility across country border, and that is Estonia, Latvia, and Finland. We wanted to test 5G features in the real scenarios. So now a bit more about Ericsson Ventures. So we started making strategic and minority investments since almost a decade ago. Today, we are a team of 5 people and 4 of us based in the US, and me based out of Stockholm. Our mission in Ericsson Ventures is to invest in innovation, accelerate our core business, and generate strong financial returns. In other words, we invest both from strategic and financial perspectives. We invest out of our balance sheet, and our initial ticket size is between $1 to $5 million. In the past, we have always syndicated with other financial VC, but we do have the ambition to lead an investment if it is the right one for us. And as a corporate VC, our investment focus aligns with our general strategic directions, but we tend to look beyond the defined strategy. In doing so, we hope to bring innovation into the company. If you look into our portfolio today, you will see startups ranging from next generation networking and radio technology to 5G use cases like autonomous vehicle and AR/VR technologies. I'm going to highlight a few investment focus for you today. The first one is AI. Ericsson as a company has invested a lot in building up our AI capabilities. Especially the 5G networks is much more complicated than the previous generations. This has brought huge challenges to our telecom operator customers. So we try to build in AI into every part of our product and service portfolio wherever possible. From baseband to cloud core network, from field services to centralized network operations. We do this combining our telecom expertise with the AI talent we have. So we have about a few hundred data scientists based out of the US, Sweden, and India. So what this means for Ericsson Ventures, we have been looking intensively at different AI startups. Today, we only have one conversational AI company in our portfolio, but we are looking different startups whose technology can accelerate our journey in AI. So, and what the area that we're looking at most right now is the company that can provide end-to-end machine learning capabilities from data labeling towards ML ops. Cloud computing is the next area that we look at intensively. If you know telecom industry, you will know that we are currently going through a cloud transformation. This is about making all the network applications cloud native. So you can actually say that the telecom industry will behave more and more like the IT industry. For example, the 5G core network function will be cloud native and will be container based. We have already invested in a few companies in this area, and we continue to dig deeper into it. And then the other trend that worth mentioning, of course, is edge computing. We think that edge computing is an essential part of the 5G platform because it can enable use cases that require low latency, high bandwidth, and data offload, for example. So we have looked at many edge computing companies today. Hopefully, we will make an investment sometime soon. The latest area that we're pursuing today is actually quantum technology, with the focus on quantum computing and quantum communication. We are relatively early in this area, but we have met with most of the active players in the field already in order to formulate our investment thesis in this field. So hopefully, again, we can allow some new investment in this space. So what it means to have Ericsson Ventures as your investor. On top of the most basic financing we will provide you, we will also actively support you on your business development within Ericsson and with our customers. Remember, we have like over 300 operators around the world as our customer, and we can open the doors to all of them for you. And what we actually do is that we help you to identify stakeholders to navigate internally with our business unit, which is not trivial, with a big corporate like Ericsson. We can also help guide you through the sales process of telecom operators, because it's notoriously long and cumbersome sales cycle because of the regulation that it has to comply with. After you sign the contract, we continue to support you with the delivery phase and identify any upsell opportunities that you may have. So if telecom industry is one of your target industry, Ericsson Ventures is probably the best can support you from a VC investor point of view. Even if you are not targeting the telecom industry, Ericsson is also a huge consumer for enterprise software. Currently, we are going through a massive digital transformation. We tend to look into startups to find the most innovative and effective solutions to help us to accelerate our transformation journey. So whether you are a founder of the startup or you are a VC investor looking to co-invest, if you think Ericsson is relevant for you, please feel free to reach out to me. If you go to ericsson.com/ventures, you will see our team, our investment focus areas, and our portfolio companies. We look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
So
now it's question time.
Questions, Q&A. Do we have someone from the public? I'm going to stand here.
Actually, while you're getting that, I have a quick question to ask, if I may. Vik, thank you very much for that. It's actually fantastic. I love working with corporates because there's so much more power and resource available and intelligence available for particularly early stage startups. And that's my question then, how mature should the startups be before they approach you?
Yeah, so our initial ticket size, as mentioned earlier, is between $1 to $5 million. That would mean that in the past, we invest mostly in Series B. We have 2 startups that we invest in Series A. So because we are a small team, and we typically wanted to see a startup had some product and customer traction first.
Okay, got it. So you want some serious traction to validate it. Cool, thank you.
So, do I see hands? Yeah, I'm coming closer to hear the question, so I have to repeat it. Go ahead. Cool. So how far do the geolocation of your previous investments go? Is it only Baltics? Is it far beyond Europe? Where are you looking, and where's your investments? Where have you done investments before?
Yeah, so today, if you look into our portfolio, we have most of the startups actually based in the US. That is because traditionally we started the investment from the US, and 4 out of 5 of us are actually based in the US. But we do have 2 startups based in Europe right now, and I started Ericsson Ventures a bit more than a year ago, and since then we have looked at a lot of European startups, and we build a network within startup and venture capital community here in Europe. So you will see more and more about Ericsson Ventures in Europe, and we just started a little bit later than the US market.
Does that answer your question? Yes, thank you. Yes, go ahead. Okay. If Ericsson is doing the investments, in addition to the maturity of a startup, what are you looking more? Is it the team? Is it the technology? Is it the location? What are the most crucial components that are very good for you?
As I mentioned, we invest both from strategic and financial return perspective. And I think first we have to find something that is relevant to Ericsson. That is because I think there was quite a lot of money out there. What we can actually bring to the startup is our asset within telecom and our customer base in telecom. I think, of course, the team is very important. We tend to look for a team that with a very passionate founder, and because we invest a little bit later stage, so then we look into the customer base and the traction that the startup has as well. So I don't know if that answers your questions.
Yeah.
I think so. Thank you very much. We've got one final question, which has come through on the Slido app. So just to remind everybody out in internet land, go to Slido if you want to actually ask any questions and interact. So the question is, Vik, does Ericsson support also life sciences and biotech startups?
No, not at the moment, unfortunately, because that is really far away from our core business. So we don't look at life science startups.
Okay, that's great. Very clear. So it makes it easy for people not to waste your time and waste their time if they're in biotech or life sciences. Vik, thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
And thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So we are going to the next. I think we have to switch speakers now in Stockholm. Yes, and we are going to hear from Telia Ventures. Ebba Lilliehöök is going to take over in a second. And the same procedure, she will talk about how data could be of use for startups, for corporations, and what is Telia Ventures doing in sense of transforming the corporate. So thank you, Vik Li, and welcome, Emma. Ebba, sorry, Ebba.
So, for those who haven't met me or any of my colleagues yet, we are the venture capital arm of Telia Company. We invest in consumer and enterprise markets, being strategically important for Telia now as in the future. And trying to be a bit more specific, it is natural for us, when having a telco as an owner, to focus innovation around connectivity, being used in our homes, at work, and in networks. We have the global mandate to invest, but we try to center that around Telia's footprint and selected innovation hubs, such as Silicon Valley, where we have done 3 investments so far. And talking about our footprint, Telia is the largest telco in Scandinavia and the Baltics, which means that the Baltics is a very exciting and interesting area for us. It's not only part of our footprint, but it's also the home of many successful startups that we have seen over time. Stage-wise, Telia Ventures enter Series A and Series B, and we often have a ticket around 1 to 5 million euro. And giving you a flavor of our portfolio, some examples of our portfolio company is Swappi, which is a Finnish startup, actually the fastest growing startup in Finland. They do refurbished phones. We invested in Challenge Mode that became official yesterday. It's an esports platform where we actually invested together with Alibaba to scale the platform internationally. We also invested in a cybersecurity company in Silicon Valley called Aporeto, which has actually already been acquired by a global leader called Palo Alto Networks. But by hearing, we have a very diversified portfolio, but one common factor is that we argue that all the companies that we have invested in has the potential to become market leaders within their fields. And over to the team. Telia Ventures team is headed by Heikki Mäkkijärvi, who has quite exciting background from both VC and telco, being a partner at Accel and also headed up the Silicon Valley-based Airbus Ventures. And he has experience from the telco, T-Mobile and Nokia, which is a quite interesting mix. In addition, we are 4 investment managers. We're all based in Stockholm, and I'm one of them. And I am the person who covers the Baltics. Another thing worth mentioning is that we don't have a mother brain, but what we have is an expert network where we have a set of professional experts within Telia who help us pre-investment to evaluate deals and post-investment to make the best chances for the startups that we invested in to win a partnership, or other collaboration opportunities with Telia. But today, I'm going to tell you a bit more about the power of data, which today can be more or less seen as the new oil. And I will explain how we see it from Telia's perspective, how we collaborate with startups, but also what Telia Ventures is looking for. So starting with how Telia, where the power of data is crucially very important when creating new products and services. An example is during Corona pandemic, we acted quickly. And there, together with one of Telia Ventures' portfolio companies, we used them to provide health authorities in Estonia, Sweden, Finland, and Norway with crowd insights data. So Telia has then been able to aggregate anonymous and safe traffic data and deliver that to health authorities. And by analyzing the correlation between people and traffic flows, one has been able to analyze how the pandemic spreads. So, for example, in Stockholm, the change in number of daily trips today versus the 9th of February, just before the outbreak, has decreased with 18%, showing that people have listened to the government and the health authorities' recommendation and stayed at home, which is quite interesting, right? Another example in how Telia supports startups is where Telia have provided data to a startup, Stockholm-based startup called Exnomad. In this case, Exnomad being a marketplace for empty rental spaces, have been able to buy data from Telia, being aggregated and anonymized and showing visitor statistics. And with this, they have been able to offer an upsell opportunity to customers and been able to reveal, for example, data about what hour did most visitors enter the store, or was the advertisement placed correctly, and did it generate more visitors passing by? So with this, we argue that data being used wisely can create enormous opportunities for your business and products. But don't forget, you shouldn't use data only for the sake of data. It needs to be packed and analyzed in a useful setting. So over to Telia Ventures and what we are looking for. The power of data is not only about using it wisely, it's also about using it sustainably. That is used secure, protected, and in a non-fraudulent purpose. So let me pick up one angle of data which we find is very important. It's data protection and privacy. And why do we care? First of all, it's in the DNA of Telia, where data protection and privacy is a key principle in everything we do. Second, the more data it is, the more demand for data protection and security there will be. So, for example, by 2022, the market is estimated to over $100 billion, which is a pretty big market. So given the experience that we've gained from, for example, Aporeto, which work with cloud security, combined with Telia being seen as a very trusted partner, we have a strong understanding in how the space works, and we're eager to learn more. So for all startups out there who finds us interesting, and especially for those of you who are working with data protection and privacy, please reach out to us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ebba. Thank you. Okay, so while Christy is roaming the floor for questions, let's open with a question from Slido, and actually from, I think, from India. Do you invest, or does Telia invest into fintech startups outside Europe? And if yes, what is your primary consideration?
Thank you so much for the question. So the first answer is that we don't invest in any fintech startups. So we have decided to focus around connectivity, B2B, B2C solutions, but not in the fintech area.
Okay, thank you. And then if they're not fintech, but they do tick the rest of the boxes, if there's a team in India, for example, or in Singapore, would you invest? Given that everything else is perfect.
Absolutely. So given the strategic link and the maturity of the company, if it's a stage that's relevant for us, we're of course interested to look at it. Right now, we have given our most experience in Silicon Valley, where we've done 3 investments. Otherwise, we have done most of them centered around our footprint. But absolutely, we have a global mandate. So if other boxes are ticked, we're interested to check it out.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Do we have any questions from the floor? Just a quick note, why are we doing this that I'm running to you this year? It's because of the health and safety regulations. We don't go around with a microphone infecting everyone with the same one. So that's the way we do it this year, so, to be safe.
I
Yes,
thought it was
we have
because we knocked out too many people with the throw box, no?
Yeah, throwbox, even better. Sorry? Okay, great question. What's the best way to approach you, Ebba, with a pitch?
You can visit our website, www.teliaventures.com, and there you can see the contact information. But I'm happy to receive all your pitch material and all your kind of introductions over LinkedIn or over our website or as an email. So happy to connect with all of you who find your startup being relevant for us.
Thank you. One more?
So one last question coming.
Telia is known for its field of activity, for being there for a long time, and people can relate to it. But I'm interested, what are these new fields they are considering within the organization for the future that Telia is not yet known for, so that we can indicate from which fields those investments come from, or those startups? She mentioned like data protection.
Great question.
Wouldn't necessarily
Okay, so this is a quick question.
A quick question. Telia is known for telecom in a broad world, but what are the future branches you are looking into where you want to invest in that sense? That is it going to be data protection, for example, or what are the future? What the future will bring for Telia?
And that's a very, very exciting and great question. And that's pretty much part of our mandate. I can just give you a bit of taste of what Telia as a corporate has done recently. Being the largest telco in the Nordics and the Baltics, last year it became clear that we acquired the largest media group in Sweden called Bonnier Broadcasting, which included some of the key channels that is showed for the Nordic population. So that maybe gives you an indication of a telco also being relevant for the media industry. But what we've been looking at is, of course, technology that could be relevant for Telia now as in the future. And that often builds on technology based on 5G, based on edge computing, and of course data that I've been telling you a lot about today.
Super. Thank you very, very much, Ebba. Big round of applause.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, who's next?
So who's next? We continue our last but not least presenter. He's doing something called Mother Brain and disrupting VC industry, how they do their investments. So I'm very happy to welcome on live stage Henrik Landgren from EQT Ventures, talking about what is a mother brain and how to disrupt this kind of old kind of industry.
Super.
So let's take over.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's been great to listen to the previous speakers, and it's also cool to be live streaming from Stockholm. I'm Henrik Landgren. I'm part of building up EQT Ventures, and I would like to today give you a crash course in EQT Ventures and this mysterious thing that we call Mother Brain. Let me see if I can also get some materials up on screen. There we go. So at first, let me give you one quick slide about myself. My name is Henrik. I'm one of the operating partners at EQT Ventures. I have a quite technical background. I started coding when I was young in the 80s, and then I went to, after some years working as a developer, I went to universities to learn more of the business side of things. And then some years at McKinsey took me then back to tech, joining Spotify in 2010, building the analytics team there. But since 4.5 years back, I'm part of building EQT Ventures from scratch, and I will tell you a bit more about that now. So what is EQT Ventures? EQT Ventures is a young fund. We started only 4.5 years ago with a fund size of 566 million euros. Last fall, we released our second fund of 660 million euros. We wanted to create a new fund. Me personally, I was, as the head of analytics at Spotify, I was meeting a lot of investors from the other side of the table during those years. And I could clearly see that we could create a new type of investor that had the tech experience from working from startups to be able to coach and help the founders. I could really see the need for that. So we wanted to create a new investor like that. So we set out to create a new venture investor which would be like the investors that we would like to have had ourselves. So we set out to build this new fund based on these 4 pillars. One, to have a tech team like myself who had the experience from actually working in some of these fast-growing startups that could really help the team, the founding teams. And secondly, we wanted to also bridge the gap between Europe and Europe and the US, because we saw that many founders were forced to go to the US when they became more successful to get more money. We wanted to change that. That's also one of the reasons we launched these big funds. Thirdly, we also saw, especially myself, that using technology and data, all the latest development in that field, could really create a new type of investor that use data a lot to make better and more efficient and more objective decisions. So that's what we wanted to do, and that's what resulted in the Motherbrain platform that I will talk about too. And fourthly, we wanted to create a new fund, but not create everything from scratch. So we wanted to find a partner to do that with. So we did that together with EQT, which is a very successful private equity investor that has been invested over $60 billion since the last 30 years. So here we are. Today we're 25 people around the globe, or at least around Europe and San Francisco. With people like myself coming from Spotify, but also from other startups like Booking.com or King, the gaming company. And together we have a team that we believe can help the founders with everything they need. So I help out with data analytics and such strategies. And then we have Ted, who helps out with product and design decisions. And we have Zoe in London, who helps out with recruiting and talent questions and so forth. So we believe we've found a pretty strong team to help founders to succeed in their plans. So far, during these 4.5 years, we've invested in roughly 60 companies, and here's a snapshot of them. And I wanted to give you just 5 examples of which companies those are, because they're quite different. So the first example is Sonantic, who is the very strong team based out of the UK, who are creating artificial voices. That makes it possible to create robots and artificial sound of computers that's indistinguishable from humans. And they just released their world's first crying AI voice. And I included a QR code. If you're interested, you can go in and listen to it. It's quite amazing. The second example I wanted to show was Vario, which is a Finnish company that creates a mixed reality headset with eye resolution, like a retina-like resolution in the headset. And once you've tried that, it's pretty amazing what you can create in a mixed reality world where you can't distinguish the reality from the virtual reality. They recently just helped the astronauts together with Boeing to do the training missions to go to the International Space Stations using their headsets. So very exciting to see what they're doing next. Third example is Handshake, which is a US or San Francisco-based company connecting students with employers. We're also a very strong team that grows a lot. So that's an example of our US investments. And the fourth example here is Einride, a Stockholm-based company with a really ambitious vision to disrupt the whole transportation industry by putting electric autonomous trucks into the market. So with that bang, I wanted to give you the fifth and last example, which is this game, Empires and Puzzles, which was created by a company called Small Giant Games. And this is a Finnish company we invested in very early, before they launched the first game. There were only a handful of people, and I personally helped them a lot to figure out how to create the tools they needed to launch the game in a very successful manner and grow it as fast as they did. And this became our first exit, and they sold to Zynga for $700 million in the end of 2018. Okay, that's about EQT Ventures. Now let's talk about this Motherbrain platform very quickly. There is a lot to talk about here, of course. I'm working 50% of my time as a product owner for this platform, and this has now evolved to be a platform that helps us in everything we do as an investment team. We use it to find companies, to assess companies, to help them to grow with competitor intelligence and a lot of data to support the way that we work with these companies. And over these years, it's been proven that it's the fastest way for us to become more efficient and more objective in our investment decisions. It's a little bit hard to visualize and describe what Motherbrain, how it works, but this is one way where we can see how Motherbrain sees all companies here in clusters. We're trying to reduce the dimensions from hundreds of dimensions down to 3, so that we humans can understand it. And it's Motherbrain then tracks over 40 different data sources for each and every company, over 10 million companies. And that the data sources we use are things such as financials, who invested in which company, the performance on the web, on the App Store, and things like that. And it blends all these things together and listens to what we do in the platform, what we think of each and every company. And then from this information, it can learn from what we like without us telling it, which has been very, very fascinating to see. And during these years, it's been learning from every day we do more decisions into the platform. It will learn, and it has proven to increase the accuracy a lot. One very simplified example here is to see how it looked at AnyDesk, which was the first Motherbrain investment we did. You can see here in the graph that AnyDesk is a remote desktop application that a team in Germany had created. Motherbrain saw that it was growing like weed, like crazy, versus the leader that was quite stable on the top. This was one of the strong signals that led it to ping AnyDesk to us to look at. So we did, and we met the team and really liked them, and then that is now one of the best performing companies in our portfolio. One more example is Wordax, and Wordax is an example of a company that is really, really early stage that also Motherbrain helps us to find. This is a company led by Nikki, as you can see in the picture, who they're creating a really amazing game. And Motherbrain found this to us even before 2 years now before they even launched the game. So I can't tell you so much about what they've done, but they're building something really amazing. And here you can see Tim Cook's visiting their office, and we're really excited to see what they will release soon. In total, we've invested over $100 million now using the Motherbrain platform alone as a deal source. And that's from 7 companies we've invested in. But this rate seems to increase, and there is actually 2 unannounced companies that we will announce pretty shortly, I hope, that also comes from this, which adds to these numbers. So very exciting. I wanted to show you something that people ask about. How do we build it? What do we use? And we use a tech stack that looks pretty similar to any kind of fast-growing startup that we look at, actually. So we're using the latest and greatest technology frameworks that are out in the market in the AI field. And this helps us a lot because we get the benefits from this thriving community that is being built across the globe. So whenever there are new things released to the AI community, we can also then test that on Motherbrain, and we can see if it helps us or not. And so far, we've seen many of these lifts in the accuracy of the models where we try new things that are being released. So now, latest the BERT releases, the BERT frameworks that helps us to understand text much better has been extremely helpful for us. So the last slide here is, of course, to say that this is just the beginning. We early on saw that this, of course, you should use data to create a better investor is given, and we created this platform. And then gradually we realized that this is a decision platform that can learn and then predict what we want to do, what decisions we want to take. And we can see the accuracy of those predictions increasing for every day when we increase the data sets we add, and when we give data back to Motherbrain. So we believe that pretty soon we will be able to have Motherbrain make its first actual decision itself. Not probably the investment decision itself, because that's a very complex decision to do, but help us with a lot of things that we spend time on today, so that we can free up time to meet with great founders instead. So we really look forward to continue working on this. And if you want to reach out, please do get in touch. There is my Twitter handle. You can reach me. Or come and see us in the next time you're visiting any of our offices. We're in the office location that you can see here on this slide. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Henrik. This Motherbrain looks awesome. I've actually got 2 questions about Motherbrain just to warm you up here while we open to the floor and to Slido as well. And actually, one of the questions came through Slido. So my first question is about Motherbrain. If Motherbrain is so good at pulling in all the information, identifying your potential target investments, should startups even contact you, or do they just assume that you'll call them if they're in your zone? And the question that came through in Slido, which I think is really cool, what happens if your investment thesis changes? Does Motherbrain need to change, or will you be largely following what you learn from Motherbrain?
Great. So the first one, we of course welcome everyone to contact us with potential investment cases if they want to work with us, if they think we could be a great partner for their growth. So please do reach out with the contact details that I showed or on our website. But if you forget, we hope that we will find you anyway, because we do work with Motherbrain suggestions every week, all of us. So hopefully, if you forget, if you are heads down building your product, you might get a call from any of us following the Motherbrain advice anyway. But please reach out anyway, because we like to work with great founders with ambitious plans.
Okay, but if somebody's phone does ring, they should answer.
If our investment strategy changes, then we're not building like a complete black box here that does everything on its own. So we're actually in control of what's going on here, which is quite nice. So we're using machine learning technologies to train the system really well in the best way possible, and then we can control it as well. So if we are changing strategy, we can of course then also change the way that we use the output from these algorithms. So we can support that as well, and that's actually pretty nice, because then we can also decide where we want to over-index our time. But I can tell you more about that another time.
Fantastic, thank you. Christy, we have a question from the floor.
We have a question. Any hints how to get on Motherbrain's radar?
Well, the hints would be to build something that gets a lot of traction fast. So it's just that easy.
So succeed.
Build a platform that everyone loves, and then we will find you.
Fantastic. Henrik, with that, thank you very much. Great presentation.